Very much. Thank you. Now we move on to the Metropolitan Discretionary Response Fund. So we have an application here for the Santa's Grotto. Welcome, Sam. So this was one that has been referred to the Discretionary Response Fund from the Events and Festivals Fund because it best fitted in this space. Do we have anything to add since it was referred?
No.
Okay, any questions? Phil?
Can we, I feel that poor old Santa's Parade Grotto department are like a slowly sinking ship. And can we give them the 25 grand they asked for rather than the 5 out of this response? Because we couldn't get it out of the previous one, is that correct?
That's right.
So I look at some of the figures we give the previous ones and think that these guys, they won't waste it because, as I say, they have been a slowly sinking ship for a long time. So are we allowed to give them more?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to move this with an amended amount, that's up to you. So Sam, how much is left in the discretionary response?
So as per the report, there was approximately $75,000
To last us through to the end of next June.
Oh, yeah.
which is a carry forward from the last financial year.
Yeah.
And it'll be next month that council will decide how much of the Strengthening Communities Fund will go into the Discretionary Response Fund. Traditionally, that's been $135,000, so that would be on top of the carry forward should that go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Leanne?
This one was as a result of a new board taking over. Have I read that correctly? And they want to get their feet under the table before they commit to the Christmas parade again, because I mean we have literally put over $70,000 worth of value into it by stopping them having to pay for rent for all of their equipment, which was the big cost associated with the Santa Parade. So they can now store all of their floats and things out at QE2. Mm-hmm. So I mean I don't mind an increased amount, but you've obviously been talking to them. I mean, what is? I mean, you've come up with a recommendation of 5,000. So what was your thinking behind that? And is there some? I mean, I know that there's financially some room to move in that regard. But what is it that they really need to get them supported? You know, because I just feel like, you know, we made a big shift and made them more financially secure by providing them with so that they didn't have to rent the accommodation for their floats.
Mm-hmm.
Now they need money for the Santa Grotto, which is not what we contract with them for. We contract with them to provide the Christmas parade. I'm kind of sympathetic to a new board coming in and wanting to get their feet under the table before they make such a big commitment. And I want to know that perhaps our staff working with them to see whether we could support them in a Christmas parade function as appropriate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I answer that in terms of just after the last Events and Festivals funding round, in terms of there was a request for a meeting with councillors and myself to talk through the issues. In terms of we are working with them to put the parade in place the following year. This year they think it's too soon, so they want to do the Christmas Grotto. So they will do that, but in terms of certainly they are taking their time to understand in terms of how they're going to progress with that. So there's been a shift in mindset. Yes, they want to get the parade back. Yes, they want to revitalise it. And very confident they will get there. In terms of for this year, they're just going through a Santa's Grotto. We've had some reasonable discussion around how much a Santa's Grotto should cost, hence the recommendation through that. But certainly I think there should be an increase in funding when they return to the parade, but the Santa's Grottos they go through. But I think in terms of, so we are working closely with them.
But I mean, I know that Councillor Major's thinking of a slightly higher number, but I'm just reluctant to say that that's 25,000. No.
Okay, so at this point, To get something on the table, Phil, would you like to move the motion with a different amount?
I'd like to raise, I'd like to raise the number, say 10 or 15 grand, because they're only just treating water, keep holding their own.
How about-
They want to fix a whole lot of floats, but they can't.
How about we get it on the
Pick
table?
the number, 15
with-
grand.
Okay, so how about we've got it on the table with Phil moving it at 15,000. Do we have a seconder for 15? Jake was next to Phil. Is where my eyes were.
I was just going to put a completely different proposal. Why don't we give them the 5 grand for the grotto as recommended, and tag the 20 as their kickstart to the Santa Parade next year if they're working towards it?
The question is though, are we able to do that if they haven't applied for that? If they haven't applied for funding for the parade for next year, though they could come back with a discretionary response fund application.
I just think if they've got a new board and they're keen to get it underway, but they've indicated it'll be next year, why don't we send the first signal that we back the Santa Parade?
We do. The question is over whether we can or not.
Then
So
we
can
should
we
give
just
them
check
25.
first with Sam? Have they applied for funding for the parade or just for the grotto?
Just for the grotto.
Yeah, and actually we can't give, and we've had this come up in other funding rounds before, we can't give money for things that people haven't applied for.
Just seems like a wasted opportunity, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all back the parade, it's just an application form. So Yanni, then Pauline.
I think there's definitely some goodwill now between working together with council and the Christchurch Children's Christmas Parade Trust. So I think we are in a better space, and we just need some time. Obviously, there's been a few other things happening in the last few weeks that have taken a huge focus of the council's organisation. But I think really the key thing is to get through this year, and as was said, there's definitely opportunity for next year. But I do think it needs a more considered proposal than just what's in front of us today. So just in regards to the grotto, I just wanted to check with council staff around, obviously, that regardless of the quantum that we give in, is there any other in-kind kind of support that we can, or advice that we can provide to the trust to kind of help them, things like traffic management, for example, maybe some help with some events planning?
Yes, we can. There's no traffic management required because in terms of it's kind of they're doing it within their building on Q2 Park. So certainly we can provide help and advice and support through in-kind equipment where we have it, and we'll do that. Just to add, I think the point is the Santa's Grotto's for 5 days to go through, so it's a 5-day event that they're looking to run. So we'll work with them and provide them support and get them through that.
Great, thank you. Pauline.
So, and I think we have asked staff to work with them and support them, and it sounds like you are, so thank you. Can I just ask you, in your view, the $5,000 is adequate for them to run the grotto, and it's not going to put them under financial duress?
I think the $5,000 is enough to run the grotto in terms of, but obviously you can run a grotto and you can spend a lot of money on it, or you can be in terms of a different way to run it. In terms of, I think where they're getting to is, and I'll take and is probably to come back when they have a better plan for the Santa's the parade next year, then maybe we can come back early to seek some early funding to set that in mind. So
Yes,
once we have more certainty, we can come back. We won't
Right.
wait till next financial year. Once we've got that set, we can come
Yeah,
back at
so
that point.
we need to think that this 5,000 is just for the grotto, the 5-day Christmas grotto. Your view is that's sufficient funding for the grotto, and they'll come back early next year to give them some head start to prepare for the parade. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Five.
there was the recommendation, which is why she mentioned it, which is fine. Yeah. No, she was
No,
just
that's the
checking.
substantive.
Well, no, that's been moved with 15.
Yes, I know. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, are there any further actual questions? No. So we have a motion on the table by Phil, seconded by Jake, that we fund $15,000 for the Santa's Mega Grotto. Phil, would you like to open the debate, or would you like to wind it up, or both? No. Phil gets to do both because he's moving the motion.
The main reason that I want to do this, as I say, these guys have been a sinking ship. They've got a building which is very nice. We used to give them 70 grand a year funding, which 65 of them, that went straight to the landlord for where they used to be. So we really, I know we've given them a building, the floor is damaged, the concrete needs a little bit of fixing and stuff like that. So they would use, not necessarily, and I've got to be careful how I say this,
Yeah.
Santa's Grotto money to do stuff for doing up the floats to make them look better. They've been holding them together with chewing gum and string and stuff for a long time. They need some serious maintenance and stuff done to them. So that's why I'm trying to just get them a wee bit more dough.
Thank you. Yanni?
I'm really supportive. And there's a few other things going on here too. The fact that they're next to Shirley boys and Avonside girls, so they're actually got a partnership, as I understand it, with the high school. There's so much opportunity to actually work towards a really fantastic parade in the future by just getting greater synergy around education, training, learning, the parade organisers, and possibly some of our own council companies and organisations. So, I came away from the meeting that we've had in a really good space. I think we are going in the right direction. We just need some time. And I also think actually it's really prudent. Look at what's happening with COVID around the world right now with the Delta variant. I'd rather them have the grotto this year and then focus on something with a lot more certainty next year, hopefully, as we're coming through the vaccination in terms of the pandemic. So to me, this kind of makes sense. Even though they've got the building, I do believe there is some capital contribution that is needed to get to a fit modern state. But I think we can work that through with a further application or funding consideration. But I have no doubt in my mind that we could have the most fantastic parade in our city with all the talent and creativity that we have to really showcase the city to not just local people, but actually around New Zealand or maybe even internationally in the future. But this year is not the year to do that. Next year is. It's an anniversary occasion as well. So I think let's focus on that and let's give them some support in the meantime.
Thank you. Tim?
Thank you. Yanni, Phil and I with Nigel met with the new trust and their new artistic director, and it was really uplifting their vision and their want for the future. It's a totally different attitude, which I think is outstanding. Let's not be fooled, we've given them a building which is really, really good, but with regards to health and safety, with the grotto, etc., I think they are going to need a wee bit more money to just up the grotto to make it just that better standard. So rather than them kind of crimping and saving, etc., I'd really like to show them some a real positive way forward, because they have shown that they've got an outstanding artistic director, I think, and the what they're wanting to do with regards to local talent in the future. I think it'd be really, really good to give them a good lift to start, and this would be a good way to go forward. So I'm totally supporting Phil and Jake's amendment.
That's great. Any further debate? Andrew?
Yeah, I'm certainly supportive of the higher amount. They applied for 25, which represents about a third of the overall budget for this project. And it's really good to hear comment from those councillors that have been working closely with the Trust, that this is obviously in a far more positive space. It's good that we've got some new trustees on board and that they've got a clear plan for running this grotto this year, which I'm sure people will love in the same way that they did last year, but then a pathway to reinstating the Santa Parade in a way that's going to be able to be done confidently and sustainably, so that we've got a parade which we can enjoy in the future. So I think the additional amount reflects giving them a little bit more than the staff recommendation towards what they actually asked for, and sets them up for success as they plan to put the parade on, not this year but next year. I'm very happy to support that.
Right. Any further debate? Sam?
I'm just wondering if in the new Santa Parade next year there'll be a Merrill float, potentially.
Of course, that's why we're supporting
And
it.
with
been in
that-
it twice.
And with that, I will put the motion. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, I declare that carried. Thank you very much. Okay.